On today's episode, it's NIK Color Effects, understanding the detail extractor filter. This is a really good filter, one you should be using if you're not. Find out all about it today. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Have I got a good one for you today? The detail extractor filter found in NIK Color EFEX PRO 5. It's a really great filter. I use it all the time. It's a great way of adding localized detail to just certain areas of your image that you really want your viewer to look at. It's a powerful tool, so let's take a look at it. I have 3 examples for you today. This image we're going to extract detail out of. Then I have this one, a nice landscape scene, and then I have this one, a person against a blue wall with a blue coat, but we're going to pull detail out of it, and you're going to see how cool this filter is. By the way, if you don't yet have the NIK Collection 5, they have a back-to-school 25% off sale going on right now. I'm not sure how long this sale runs, but check it out. Just click on my affiliate link in the description below this video. It'll take you right here. And then I'll make a small commission. You'll save 25%. This will help me to keep these tutorials coming your way, and for that, I thank you. Now, before we start, let's take a look at the manual from DxO. This filter uses a unique new technique to exaggerate details to create outstanding, stylish photos. Use this filter to balance light and tone and extract detail throughout the photo. Now, we have several sliders here. There's mainly one slider you're interested in to get the detail, and that's the detail extractor. This is the main control for this filter. Drag the slider to the right to lighten shadows and darken highlights while accentuating details throughout the photo. Now we have a standard contrast control, and that's very important in this filter, as you're going to see. And then there's a saturation adjustment, another key adjustment in this filter as well, but it's a basic saturation adjustment. And then we have an effect radius. Controls how the detail extractor function brings out details. Select fine to emphasize small subjects, which gives the image more texture, or select large to highlight large subjects. Now, of course, we also have our typical shadow and highlight protection. Now, let's go ahead and take it for a test drive. Now, I'm working from Photoshop as a plugin, and I do all my localized adjustments with Photoshop rather than inside of the NIK collection. Now, you have control points there, but I don't use them. I work with Photoshop. It's much easier in my opinion. But leave me a comment in the comment section below if you want me to do a control point video. If I get enough of you asking for it, I will make one. Let me open up the NIK Selective Tool. Now, you can get that from coming up to File under Automate and NIK Selective Tool. Or if you have the TK plugin for Photoshop, you can make yourself an action, which I have right here. Click this and it opens right up. It's much quicker, it's faster. And let's go ahead and launch the detail extractor. Now, it is one of my favorited filters, so I have it in this list of favorited filters right here. Detail extractor. I'm going to click that. We're going to open it up and we shall get started. These are the default settings, and I don't really recommend zeroing this one out because the starting settings are really good. Now, here's our detail extractor. Now, I'm going to start to drag this to the right. A lot of people probably give up in this filter when they start dragging this to the right and they see how kind of ugly the image starts getting. Now, that does look ugly, right? But here's a very important tip for you. Whenever you add more detail extraction, you're going to have to use more contrast. So now watch when I take this basic contrast adjustment and start to drag it to the right. You see how it looks a little bit more natural. Now that's way overdone. So let me go ahead and drag back this detail extraction to right around here. And now with that extra contrast in there, it looks good. Now, I also think it needs some more saturation. So let's take the saturation slider and give it some more saturation. We don't want to go too much here, but we want to just get it looking good. Now, here is another tip. I know this looks ugly. You're saying, this looks ugly, Dave. What are you saying this is a great filter? It is a great filter, but I use it as a local adjustment in Photoshop. So I like to overdo the adjustments because I'm going to brush mask this on in Photoshop. Now I have object selection tools I can use. I can just use a nice soft edge brush and just paint this on wherever I want it. It's a beautiful thing, and you're going to see that here in a second. But again, we have a detail extractor. Just drag it to drag the detail out you want. add some contrast if needed, add some saturation if needed. Now here's an important drop-down menu here. This says right now normal. Now I usually use it in normal, but whenever you have fine areas of detail, if you click right here, see you have fine. If I hover over it, you will notice fine areas of detail are coming out differently. It's more acting like a sharpening. And then here is normal. And now here is large. It's looking for large areas of detail. And these will all come in handy depending what you're doing. Say like you're working on rocks, you may want to use more like larger details. If you're working on really fine, intricate areas in an image, you may want fine details. But for overall adjustments, normal is going to do just fine. So let's start out with normal. I like it so far. And then we have highlight and shadow protection here. If we're clipping highlights or blocking up shadows, we can drag these sliders over and take care of that problem. This opacity slider is not for easing off the effect. I think I told you that in the past. If I did, I was wrong. It's only for easing off the control point adjustments. So it's only for control points only. So if I said that wrong in a past tutorial, I'm correcting that right now. Let's take a look at the before and after. Here is the before and here's the after. Now I know you think I destroyed the image, and I think I did too. But I like to be a little aggressive here because, again, I'm going to work with local adjustments in Photoshop and just apply as much of the effect as I need. But first, let's go ahead and apply this effect, and we'll send it back to Photoshop. I'm going to go and click Apply. And here we are back in Photoshop. I'm going to get rid of this selective tool by clicking on the X, because it gets in the way. I can always open it right back up here with my action. Now to use this with local adjustments, hold your Option or Alt key down and click on this icon right here, and that puts a black mask on it. If you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, just click this button right here. It's a little bit faster, and who doesn't want their workflow sped up? Make sure the layer mask is selected. Get a brush tool. You can type B for brush. If you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, you can click on the brush icon. You need a white brush. Click on the brush icon. Give yourself a nice soft edge brush. I use 100% soft edge brush, and I'm going to make the size about that size. And the beautiful thing about brush masking is you can adjust the opacity. See right now the opacity is at 50%, and then I can build up the effect. So I can have a certain amount of effect here, but a stronger amount here by using a higher opacity. It's pretty cool. So let me go ahead and paint on here. And you can see I'm bringing out detail, okay? And that soft edge brush is really going to help. Now I can hit it again. Now you might think that I'm adding another 50%, which is going to give us 100%, but it's really not. As you can see, if we take a look at this mask, it's not 100% white. So it builds up in increments. Let me go ahead and look at the image again. Now look at this lemon right here. Here is the before and here's the after, but you see that detail in there? Now on the sandwich here, I'm going to keep it at 50%, but this time let's use an object selection tool to help us here. So I'm going to click on the object selection tool. Now I'm in the lasso mode and it's on select subject. Now if you click here, you can use cloud detailed results. It takes a little bit longer, but you'll get more accurate results. I generally use a device, and we'll see. I'm just going to lasso loosely right around this sandwich here. And it does a really good job. Now you can see the marching ants there. Now if you want to hide the marching ants, you can do a Command or Control H to hide the marching ants. Or if you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, just click this button right here. Now I'm going to get my brush tool again. I'm typing B to get my brush tool. I'm still at 50%. So I'm going to start painting over this. Okay, that's 50%. Here's the before and here's the after. I'm going to go up to 100%. I'm typing my 0 key, so I think this sandwich can take it. Yes, you can, sandwich. In fact, that sandwich looks so good, I'm getting so hungry. Now let's take a look. Here is the before and here's the after. So pretty nice. Now I could object select around this avocado, grab the object selection tool, and really quickly, and you don't have to be accurate here, just draw around there. Let me hide my marching ants with my TK8 CX panel, and let me get my brush tool, and I think I'm going to keep it at 100%. No, that's too much. I'm going to do a Command or Control Z. I'm going to go to 50%, and I'm going to start to paint in the center of the avocado and maybe around the edges here, keeping out of that area in here. Maybe I'll drop it down to like 20% and paint this area in here. But this is what I mean by brush masking. You can get some really great details. Now on these tomatoes here, I'm going to go ahead and deselect my selection. You can do Command or Control D to deselect, or you can hit this button right here. I'm going to make my brush smaller. I'm going to go to 100%, type my 0 key, and I'm just going to paint on my tomatoes. Now that's too much. I'm going to back it up, Command or Control Z. I'm going to go to 50%, and you can experiment till you get the right amount. I'm just going to paint all these tomatoes here really quickly. There's not much detail on here, so I'm not going to worry about that, but this tomato has some detail on it. And now this wood butcher block, whatever you want to call it here, I'm going to use the Object Selection tool, and let's just do a selection around there. Just like so. Helps to make those little noises like Bob Ross would always say. So I'm going to hide the selection here. I'm going to go to like 50% and get my brush tool and make a nice big brush here. I don't have to worry about going outside the lines here because I have a selection protecting me. Okay, that looks pretty good. I might just add more detail up on this side and down this edge here. But this is what brush masking is all about. Now you can Option or Alt click on this mask and see what your mask looks like. See that? Isn't that beautiful art? Okay, Option or Alt click it again and it comes back. Or if you have the TK plugin for Photoshop, click this double arrow to see and click it again to make it go away. Now let's take a look. Here's the overall. Here is the before and here is the after. Again, before, just watch it for a second. Sometimes I go too fast, and I'm sorry about that. And now here is the after. But look at that beautiful detail we were able to pop out. And I love the detail extraction tool. But now let's go on to another image. Let's try this one. This time I'm going to go a little faster. So let me grab my NIK selective tool and find detail extractor. It launches. I'm going to give it more detail extraction. Now see how ugly that gets when you really pull it up. And again, you could take the contrast and bring it up. But let me pull this back. Let me pull back on the detail, add the amount I want. And again, I recommend to go stronger than what you really think. I'm going to give it some more contrast because it loses contrast when you pull up that detail extractor. And let's give it a little more saturation. Not too much, but just a little wee bit. And as far as the effect radius, I think that's going to be good on normal. You could check it out on large. There's large, here's normal. See the difference, and here is fine. See all the fine details come out, but that's too much for this image. So I think normal is good. I'm going to click apply. And now let's do some brush masking once we get back in Photoshop. And now here we are back in Photoshop. Let's get rid of the selective tool. Let me shut this layer off. Here is the before. And here is the after. And I know you're saying, Dave, you destroyed the image again. I know, but let's put a black mask on it. Remember, you can Option or Alt click and click on the mask icon to get a black mask as well. I'm going to start out with like 60% opacity. And with a white brush, I'm just going to paint over the bottom part of this water, right in this area, right down in here. Just like that. That easy. I don't want to affect this area because it's a reflection and I don't need to paint that. Now what I want to do is paint over this entire area right here. So I'm going to go up to say 70%. Oh wow, I went up 10% more and just paint right across this entire area right here. Making sure I get it all. I'm going to go to 100% now, type my 0 key and make my brush smaller. And I just want to paint this house in right like this. Okay, because I want it to have a lot of detail. Now this area up here, I don't want as much detail. So I'm going to go down to about 30% with a nice large brush and just paint all that area up in there. Just dragging out a little bit of extra detail in it. Okay, now let's take a look. Here's my before and here's my after. Now here's a good tip for you whenever you're using the detail extractor, because sometimes you're not getting as much contrast as you think you need. So what you want to do is get a curves adjustment layer and place it right above the detail extraction layer. And what you want to do is clip it to the layer below. That way, whenever you make an adjustment, it's only going to affect the areas that you masked in. Okay, so if you hold your Option or Alt key down, you can get a clipping mask. You see that, and then just click. Or you can click this icon right here. Or if you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, you can click on the CX or combo panel, the paper clip, and it clips it. Now, let's add a contrast adjustment. Let's do a simple S-curve. So I'm going to pull up on the highlights here and pull down on the shadows. And you see how I can just add some contrast in there. Now it's only affecting the areas where I brushed in, and the white areas are going to get the most contrast. The lighter gray areas will get not quite as much, but these darker gray areas will get even less, and the black area will get nothing. So take a look without the clipping mask. Here is the before the clipping mask, and here is after the clipping mask. Isn't that cool? Now here's the overall adjustment. Here's before, and here's after. But look at all that detail we were able to bring out. Now, you could put these two in a group. We have the curve selected. Hold the shift key down and select this one. Put those in a group. You can right click and group from layers like that. And you can give it a name. I'm just going to say okay. If you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, you just click the right side of this icon. It's so quick, right? But now what I can do is ease off in the entire adjustment by pulling back in this entire group. You know, to maybe say like 77, 78%. Here's the before, and here is the after. That's the detail extractor. And can you see why I love it so much? Let's do one more image, and that's going to be this one. On this image, I just want to add detail to the clothing, but not on the background or the face. Maybe a little bit on the hair. Let's go ahead and open up the NIK selective tool, and let's get the detail extractor, and we will get started here. This time, what I think, I want to concentrate on fine details. So let me go ahead and change this effect radius to fine. And that's going to bring out her hat and the coat a lot better. Let's give it some more, because remember, I always like to go overboard. I don't want to go too much, but right about there. Let's add some more contrast. See how that contrast really starts to let that detail really kind of pop out. And as far as saturation, I might just give it a tiny touch of saturation. And let's click apply. And now let's get rid of the selective tool. I'm going to go fast here. Let's put a black mask on it real quickly. And this time I'm going to get an object selection tool and just go around the areas that I want. I'm going to get this hat here. I want to make sure I get, or the hood I should say. And I'm going to hold the shift key down and make sure I grab the hair as well, just like that. Okay, so I got that. And now I'm going to hold the shift key down and grab the rest of this. You know, I could have got select subject, but you know what? I don't want the whole subject because I don't want the face. Okay, and it missed a couple little areas here. You can just grab a regular lasso tool, hold the shift key down, and just add the areas that it missed. Like it missed that, and it missed this area right here. And it also missed this little area right in here. I'm going to make sure I get all that as well. So that looks pretty good. So now we have some protection. Let's hide the marching ants and make sure I get my brush tool. And I'm going to leave my brush tool. Let's see, where am I at here? I'm at 30%. I'll leave it at 30%. Try that, and we'll just start brushing that in. Just like that in this area. I might go another time up in here. I'm going to not hit the hair again. And now I'm going to go to 100% because I think I can take 100% here. And just brush the areas that you want. Now remember, we have that protection on there, so we don't have to really worry about going outside the lines. We can be very, very sloppy here. And I'm going kind of fast. But let's take a look. Here is the before, and here is the after. But look at all that nice detail. I'm going to hit this hat up here one more time, and I'm going to give it 100% as well, because I think it could take a little bit extra. So here is the overall before, and here is the after. Let me zoom into that hat so you can really see the detail in there. Okay, here's the before, and here is the after. But look at that beautiful detail, and we kept it off her face. So I'm happy with that. But that's the detail extractor. Well, there it is, everyone. What do you think about that detail extractor? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you use it? Or if you don't, are you going to start using it? I think you really should. And don't forget, the NIK Collection 5 is on sale right now, the back to school sale. So click on my affiliate link if you don't have it yet, and you'll save 25% off right now. If you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, Please subscribe, click that bell notification icon. Every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, as always, happy editing.